Get this snus round.
Get the snoosh. This is the snoosh special.
Just a massive yellow grogger.
I've been trying to decide names for this episode. I know. What can we call it? You know, the depression session.
Nordic Spirit.
Nordic Spirit.
Nordic Spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cellik the Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Fitzsimons, and today I'm joined by, first of all, Mr. Callum Craig. Nice to see you back again, Callum. How you doing?
Thanks for having us back. Not too bad, bit tired, but
Aye, wee bit of a hangover, eh?
Indeed. Let's do that the better.
You've just shamed the whole of Germany, and then I'm also joined by for the first time on the national revamp of the series. Once again, Channel Originals made a member back for the old series, and Channel Originals made a member from the old live stream series as well. Mr. Callum McKenzie, the only man who probably took 2 hours to get ready for a Zoom podcast. How you doing, Callum?
Are you right? It's a pleasure to be here, man.
I know this is it. You're the only one on the show who isn't a student journalist, so you've got that pressure, mate. You've got to get ready for the history students in the future slagging you for being on this show, mate.
No, ready for it, man.
Right, well, we've got a lot to talk about because, of course, it's just getting worse in the world of Celtic. It's going to be an interesting podcast. Last week, I was joined by Ryan and Kieran, and we had quite the, I titled that, well, I didn't actually title it, but I named it the kind of get it off your chest special. But it seems like that's just becoming the norm for talking about Celtic. Yesterday wasn't the best of performances. We all know that. Celtic 0, Livingston 0. I'll come to you first, Mr. McKenzie. I mean, what do you make of the performance?
It was actually a joke. Like, see when you say, we'll get 13, 14 players out. See when you actually look at the starting lineup, we should be putting away teams at Livingston. There shouldn't be any sort of issues. And then you get Tom Rogic playing up front. I can't wrap my head around it.
We had a wee chinwag about that before we came on there, about Rogic being up front.
It's one thing playing him up front, right? But see, against a physical team like Livingston, well, he can't actually get the ball into feet and get time. He's got no chance. Absolutely no chance. And then, like, his actual performance, his first touch was dreadful. Like, I've never seen Tom Rogic with a first touch that bad in my life.
Aye.
If you're thinking of anybody in our team with, like, an assured first touch, he's the first person you're thinking.
Exactly.
And yesterday just was not happening for him.
I know, Callum, Mr. Craig, this is going to be a hard one. I just realised I've got to go with that, Callum, I don't know who I'm talking to. Of course, this, we can constantly, people can be as optimistic as they like, and people can use the excuse that there was 13 players out, and Neil Lennon's not there, and he's having to do his team talks through Zoom. Make the excuses if you like, is what I say, but the happy clappers for me don't have any sort of excuse for what we've seen yesterday. And you've got to be fair to Livingston and saying that, they were very good. But, as yesterday, you've seen moments in the park for me that just indicated everything that's wrong with the club. That performance, especially at the back, Shane Duffy and Hazard, moments like that. I mean, from what you've seen, I mean, it was just disastrous, wasn't it?
Do you know what I feel bad for now? Stephen Welsh. How can a centre mid that went and done something stupid as what he done at Ibrox, beat on, walk right back into team at centre half? The season's gubbed as it is. Go and let the fucking youngsters play the game. Go and let them get game time under their belt, because as it stands, you need to build for the future now.
And the worst part about it is that Stephen Welsh was probably one of the best performers against Hibs on Monday night, and then he's dropped to the team to suit Beaton.
Even like seeing the old firm in October, Stephen Welsh wasn't that bad.
Aye,
and that was like the biggest game he'd played.
Exactly, especially going into that game where I had people like David who's seen a lot of, David's obviously a Dunfermline fan, watched a lot of the Championship and seen a lot of Stephen Welsh. Going into that game, David was sitting beside me and he's saying, "You sir gubbed, this is a boy who could barely hack at a Championship level. He's going to struggle here, and whatever, he's been nothing special. Let's not make up anything. But he's came in, he's been put under a lot of pressure, and he's dealt with these scenarios. And then to suit near Beaton back into the team, he's dropped to it. And it's no doing it any of these boys in the world. They're good. And Callum McKenzie, I'll come to you because it brings me on to a point as well. And a kind of nice transition. So thank you for bringing that up, Callum Craig. It's a nice kind of transition into the fact that you look to the bench against Livingston yesterday, and you're looking for a dire change in the game. You've got Karamoko Dembele sitting there. You've got Cameron Harper sitting there. You've got young guys who are probably dying to come on and make a change. And you've got Stephen Welsh as well, who's been benched earlier on. I mean, these guys are dying to come onto the park probably and they're not getting a chance. There's a problem at Celtic, Callum, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. Like I said to you that during the game, is like, I'd have started Harper, I'd have started Dembele, I'd have started Ewan Henderson, I'd have started Stephen Welsh. So I was saying to you Monday night, like, Cameron Harper came under a lot of stick.
Aye.
But I was actually quietly impressed, because even though he was having a tough time, he was looking for the ball. He was not scared to take it on.
Aye.
Like, I get he had a couple of chances, but just like, it's better having Tom Rogic up front.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Like, give him a goal. Like, it can't get any worse than it is.
Oh, exactly.
And then you get Shane Duffy. Oh my God. I'm pretty. Everybody's heard enough about Shane Duffy, right? I'm not going to get into it. But it was like, whenever any Livy player was within 5 yards of him, he just like crumbled. He turned to dust. I was like, what is going on here?
Right, it's Callum, doing the bottom, Callum Craig. I'm just going to try my best to let you differentiate who I'm talking to here. From that performance yesterday, you know, we're sitting here now and we look at a position. I don't want to hear any of it. You know, Rangers have dropped points today. Okay, we can address that because we're recording afterwards, right? Rangers have dropped points. Doesn't matter. We're still 20 odd points behind. But from that performance yesterday, Callum, it just you just don't have any sort of confidence moving forward now, do you? I mean, I know we've been like that for months, but after the last week, you know, this is the first podcast we've done after a draw with Hibs and a draw with Livingston, right? This is the first time we've had the chance to speak now after all of that. I mean, you just got to sit there now and wonder, what's the point, sort of thing, you know?
I feel it's just one day. It feels as if you're about like watching a comedy show. You're waiting what's going to be the next episode, what is going to follow. Because it's just one thing after another. Like, as Mackenzie was saying there with Shane Duffy, anytime somebody comes near him, his arse just collapses.
Aye.
As if he doesn't know what to do. See if he's that much, just launch a ball, but not, he just crumbles.
It's like that bit in the game yesterday. The point for me, I sat down, I'm like, how can any CEO at any football club know that we sitting there satisfied with the man they've got in charge when see the moment right before the end of the first half and Duffy is trying to protect the ball and he's bringing it back towards Hazard. Hazard is cemented to the goal line and there's just such a lack of trust in each other. There's such a lack of communication, clear communication. I think Duffy is attempting to tell Hazard, come to my feet and get this ball. It's not happening. Hazard is genuinely cemented to the goal line. How can moments like that make Peter Lawwell confident in Neil Lennon? That's what I just don't understand.
Nah, I think in previous weeks, you've seen also the cup final, the 3 goals. Hazard tries to come for the ball, misses it every time. Done it again. What game was it?
He played a couple and I just can't remember who they were now. Aye.
He came out, punched the ball, didn't seem confident at all in it. And then as you're saying, that's just knocked his confidence for 6. And he just stuck to his goal line now because he thinks, if I come after this, I'm going to get stuck if anything comes near me.
It's just Conor Hazard simply not good enough to be a Celtic's number 1 choice. I think we've
no, he's not at all.
Nah.
But then again, who is good enough to be the number 1 now?
I was going to say, goalies aren't good enough now.
I know, I try my best to go for the back bar cast movement and then it just seems like it just gets worse and worse there as well. But it is what it is. Another couple of points dropped. It's just not getting better for Celtic, I suppose, the advantage, and we'll come on to talking about the next game with Livingston in a moment. But the advantage is the players do return Sunday and Monday. The question is, Mackenzie, with these players returning, do you even feel a sense of confidence?
I was literally just about to say to you, nothing changes in my head. Nothing.
It's just
like 6 or 7 changes in the starting 11, and you look at it and think, oh, we should beat them. No. We'll be lucky. I swear to God, I think we'll lose. Like, I was saying to you, like, we were, honestly, seriously, we were lucky to survive that. You had the Armstrong Opalflex chance at the end, right? See if we nicked that goal, that'd have been daylight robbery.
Oh, aye, I would have felt very criminal.
And we were dreadful.
Aye.
Like, we were dreadful. I have absolutely no hope at all going into this game on Wednesday. I'm happy I'm working and don't have to watch it.
I know, and it's just a sad kind of reflection on the point us fans have been led to. Considering the fact we were promised added value and we were promised, this is the big season, a decade in the making was Adidas had it painted in the streets, this was meant to be the whole 10 in a row shebang, and this is what we've been led to the point where we are expecting going into the games to drop points. I don't feel confident Celtic winning. I said that in my preview a couple of days ago for that game against Livingston, and I'll probably say the same thing for my Livingston preview on Tuesday before we go to the game on Wednesday. But we'll come on to that in a minute. We're going to move on to something that just, kind of keeps up the disastrous week for Celtic as it was, Monday through Sunday. We're going to talk about the Peter Law apology. Now, I've already had the courtesy of sitting down with Ryan McGinley. Look at your face and your hands, Cam. You just know what's coming. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Ryan McGinley literally moments after it was released, and we sat down and we spoke about it live in the channel. I think, we had about 2,000 people watching at some point to hear opinions on it, and me and him spoke about it. Ryan got everything off his chest, and we just spoke about the mess that it is. Now, first of all, I'd quickly like to add, I think we deserve another apology after that pish we watched yesterday. I think that's an apology worthy game itself. The fact that we're having to sit and watch that because we went to Dubai and we don't have players. But nonetheless, Peter Law came out, apologised for the trip, said what he thought he had to say. Callum, Craig, how did it sit with you after watching it?
It just felt as if it was one of the ones he's been prodded out with a stick, like, here, go and say this to the press, go and say this to the cameras. Mm-hmm. It doesn't help matters the fact you've got Jerry McCulloch asking him the questions. I'm sorry, but he's just going to be the yes man in that situation.
I know.
But not, see if you're going to put somebody, go and get a proper reporter in to ask him. Right, but still, you still shouldn't have went regardless. Even if you're apologising, it shouldn't have happened. We spoke this, we spoke about it in Xbox, but you, Ryan and Kieran covered it after it. Just an absolute shambles, an apology and a shambles of a situation.
The thing that annoyed me the most, well, there's actually a few things that annoyed me, but I think one of the things that really annoyed me was Cal McKenzie. I'll come to you here. He comes on to talk about maximising the potential of the club, but he comes on to talk about how we've got to fight this battle and we're going to fight to the end and all the rest of it. And he sounds very optimistic in saying so, typical Peter Law fashion. But not once does he address the situation that we are in right now in terms of how we are playing. We're woeful. The situation on the park, the situation with the manager. Not once does he bring up this mid-year review we're meant to get with Neil Lennon. So if we're maximising the potential of the club, has he genuinely sat down and thought about the future of the club? Has he thought about where we're going? Has he thought about how we're playing on the park for a minute, Callum?
I just want to start off by saying, see, when I got the email for Celtic Football Club, a message from Peter Lawwell, I was like, you got to be joking me. It was a link to the YouTube thing, and I was like, are you actually having a laugh at me here? Like,
aye.
You're listening to it, and you're just like, you just seem lying through his teeth.
Aye.
Like, he must watch it and think, oh, this is actually quite good.
I know.
Because any other team would have been like, right, get in a manager, that's it, sorted.
Aye.
You've seen it across Europe. You've seen what happened to Patrick Vieira.
Aye.
Like, with me, what having, like, we were getting outside Celtic Park and saying whatever, like, that should have made a difference. Whereas the exact same thing happened over in Nice. And Patrick Vieira was sacked on the spot.
Exactly.
Like, there's just such a disconnect. Like, the fans are saying one thing, and he's literally coming out in an apology and saying the complete other thing.
I know.
I just don't understand it.
And the worst part about all that is, he then comes out to talk it. Well, Jerry McCulloch poses the question, and I'm sitting there cringing to my bones when McCulloch asks the question. He's asked about, the portion of the Celtic support that, you're basically hinting towards the arrogant supporters, i.e. us, and the arrogant media and the fan media and all the rest of it. He's talking about these people who have been very critical. And Law addresses that, and then, we obviously can go back to the statement that was released a couple of months ago when he talks about the arrogance of some supporters and the way we were outside Celtic Park. But then he goes on, Callum, Craig, I'll come to you here. He goes on to talk about how we're apparently the worst affected with the COVID stuff and all the rest of it. So one minute one minute we're labelling fans entitled, and then he's coming out and saying that when we are probably, the wealthiest club in Scotland, the club probably in the best financial position in Scotland, and yet we're the worst affected. He's not got a clue, has he?
The reasons that we come out and say that, but then we've just went and spent, 250 odd K, it's been said to fly everybody over to Dubai, get everything set up for the training camp, but then we go and follow the under 18s. It's just, how can you honestly, how can he sit there and say we've been hit the worst with it? I feel sorry for League 1, League 2 teams. They kind of get play football, therefore they don't get the live stream money coming in. People paying to watch it, like their fans. See if it and see the money we should be getting in for grants and such. Get to the lesser teams. They need it. I don't see why he's making himself look the worst.
It's one of the ones. I was listening to the Super Scoreboard yesterday and they brought up the point, is this now a time where clubs need to pull together, help each other, rather than look out for their own club's best interest? And of course, there's always got to be a divide between fans for that. I don't think there'll ever be a united front for one or the other. It is just a matter of you either think you fight for yourself or you fight for you fight together. Calm, Mr. McKenzie, come to you here. You know, we had all of that, the apology, and then no less than 24 hours later, after apologising for spending money on a trip to Dubai, we put the under-18s team on furlough. What is there even now to say? What an embarrassment. And do you know what? I'm quickly asking you, in your lifetime, right? In your entire 21 years of existence, well, 20 years of existence, we're not 21 yet, and your 20 years of existence, has there ever been a more embarrassing week to be a Celtic fan than this week? Do you think? I don't remember any. I think we were better off with Tony Mowbray in charge in my recollection, you know.
That was when I started.
The best players.
I know. I remember Tony Mowbray coming in, getting rid of literally everybody, and this tops that. You know, I was sad. I was watching all my heroes go. 9-year-old me watching the likes of McManus, Caldwell, McDonald, all these players, Nakamura, Boric, the rest of it leave the club. And I'm sitting there, nearly in tears, but now it's just utter embarrassment. Is there generally a more embarrassing week? I don't think so.
Back to your point about the follow, right? You've got Karamoko Dembele's contract coming to dwindling down. Same with Cameron Harper, and they're looking to leave. There's talks of Cameron Harper going to be New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, New York Red Bulls.
And you're expecting, thinking, these players should surely get new contracts. And where's the incentive to stay? If they don't mean anything, because obviously if they're putting them in follow, they don't value them. I get, you can say, the situation, there's nothing else to do. You've just spent 250k to go to Dubai.
I know.
I mean, and it's not as for a financial, we're not in some sort of terrible place financially. We've still got all sorts of money. You know what I mean? All we lost due to COVID was the Tierney money. It was just sitting there anyway. Do you know what I mean?
It's just one of those ones, I think. Now we're turning off young players from staying at the club. You look at Karamoko Dembele in particular, and we spoke about how he was left out the game yesterday when you want to turn to a player like him to maybe bring a bit of creativity to the field and a bit of flair. You look at Dembele, he's got not long left on a contract. He's one of the most talked about wonder kids in Europe. He's got more followers than the club itself on Instagram, I think. He's huge. And he's a player that if we just tied down to a 4-year deal, 5-year deal, whatever, you're guaranteed to make money on. And here we have just placed him on furlough, and he knows that there's plenty of teams around Europe who'll happily welcome him in the summer. We are turning players away from the club. And you've seen it when he liked that post on Instagram as well. We're just in a terrible state of affairs. And Callum, I mean, you play a bit of football yourself, right? Celtic right now, the way they're operating, is not a club that you'd be interested in the way that things are going. That's the reality. I mean, I'm not saying that you're close to being a Celtic quality player, Callum, but
Right now,
I could probably put in there on a shift on some of the players.
Get the boots on off the ears, aye.
But no, there's nothing new that attracts you to Celtic. No, even there's not any big names that I'd love to work under them. Rangers have got IE Gerrard, a lot of players. You look at the statue he had as a player. People say, I want to go and play under him. I want to do this, I want that. Who wants to turn and say, I want to go and play under Neil Lennon? A manager who was sacked by Bolton, Hibs for apparently scrapping his own players, and then we took him in again. There's nothing there that we can offer young players to either stay in the current situation we're saying with Dembele and Harper, or to entice them to come.
Well, right, we'll move on. We'll move off the embarrassing week that was this week. I mean, there's been highs, there's been lows. The only highs that I can think of is the fact that the views are coming in nicely. How embarrassing!
Highs for you. I was going to say, what other highs have you got in mind?
And for us, it's generally, you can't look at in all seriousness. There is no positives right now to be a Celtic supporter. It's a shame. I think the only thing that attracts young players that come to Celtic is the fact we are Celtic. But right now, we need to show that we're Celtic, and we're showing nothing. We're not playing, we're not operating like a club of Celtic stature should be. You look overseas, you look at the way that clubs at Ajax and Red Bull Salzburg have been run and all the rest of it. It's madness that we are so far behind in this current climate in football. And it's all because of the man who's running the club. We need change, and we'll come on to that. Anyway, we've got Livingston again on Wednesday. Hip, hip, hooray. And Callum, you've already displayed that you think that we probably won't win the game. We've got to take a number of things into consideration here. It's, of course, the first time we head to the Almondvale this season, isn't it? That's the first. I think we've not played there, have we? So we've got to go into the Plastic Park, which as we know is not ideal. We're heading to a place that last season we did not win at. Last season we of course lost in our first attempt there, and then we drew with a 90th minute equaliser in one of the last games that we played before the football was stopped. And we're playing a team who have now 9 games unbeaten, and 8 of those 9 have been wins. Callum Craig, David Martindale has got things going. How are you feeling going on to Wednesday's game?
To be fair, getting into even yesterday's game, I was sitting thinking, like, what is going to be the outcome here? Because he's getting them playing good football, he's getting results under his belt. He's been cracking since he came in, but even with having first team players back, I still feel it getting much the same as it did yesterday. I still feel a draw for it.
Still feel a wee draw in the cards, aye. It's the advantage of 13 players returning. You've got Neil Lennon, John Kennedy back as well on the touchlines. Some would say, Mr. McKenzie, that you'd be better off without Neil Lennon in the touchlines. You've already voiced your opinions towards Wednesday's game. What in particular? I mean, that's a stupid question. What in particular is just making you feel like we can't do it?
Just Exhibit A yesterday.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's such a daft question, isn't it?
And then
I think that the way to flip it would probably be, to flip the question, and a more suitable question is, what actually makes you think we could win this game? Is there anything?
Obviously, you could say the 13 players coming back, but they've not been anything special when they have been playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the whole, the Plastic Park. I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of the excuses in it. It's the case of get your head down and get it sorted.
Aye.
Because this could be disastrous. We're in a fight for second place. If it wasn't for Ross County...
Yeah, we're in a fight for fourth place the way it's gone. Fight for fourth?
It's a joke.
It's shambolic.
If it wasn't for Ross County absolutely drubbing Aberdeen yesterday, we could have been in trouble.
Aye, we could have been in trouble. And I know we've got these 3 games in hand, but they're becoming even more meaningless as time goes on, these 3 games in hand. And they're becoming even more, I'm becoming even more of a doubter that we can get the 9 points from these 3 games in hand as time goes on. Callum, Craig, Mackenzie touched on there the kind of, Plastic Park doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, this is a professional football club. At the end of the day, we are the Scottish champions and we're the quadruple treble winners. The surface shouldn't matter, should it?
It's the same pitch for both teams, isn't it? Both teams have to play in it. That's obviously it's not ideal to be playing that plastic surface where the ball skates a bit in that. But again, as I said, it's the same pitch for both teams. You just need to get and get on with it.
I'm also going to ask you, Callum, how does Celtic deal with this high pressing, high intensity Livingston side? How do they deal with getting forced into these wide areas that are making us deliver uncomfortable balls? What does Celtic have to do? What does Celtic have to learn from yesterday's performance to get any hope of a win?
As I don't know if you're me or Mackenzie.
Oh, sorry, I can't.
Because I said it was just Callum.
I know. I thought you were just going to. I thought you were just taking a deep breath to go. I don't know.
That's what
I thought you were going to do. But what do we do to deal with a team that play like that again? Because what we're used to against teams like Livingston, and what we're used to when we go to these games, is for 10 men to be sitting behind the ball and for us not to be able to break them down. But Livingston, yes, for as defensively solid as they are, and they might shove 3 players round, 3 defenders round and one of their attacking players, but they press high. They've got a nice line. Their defence are well organised, and when they move forward, they look dangerous. Celtic need to deal with it tomorrow or Wednesday.
For me, the only way that's dealt with is best thing you can do is try to stretch the play.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're pressing further wide, so wing backs are basically they don't leave the touchline.
Uh-huh.
If it was fucking grass pitch, would say their boots are coated in the paint.
Aye.
But kind of rational part of that, they don't leave it there. Just constantly keep them stretched, and then once eventually stretch out, bring them in. Just let them keep pressing in it. Eventually, they need to tire it, but. On that, you can only wait to see what Neil Lennon can call a masterclass, what he's going to attempt to play.
What would you rather, Mackenzie? Lenny ball or Strachan ball?
can we go in charge?
I know, that's just us three.
We couldn't
Us
do much
three.
worse, could we?
Just starting the
We
touchline.
couldn't do much worse.
Me with my snooze in, you with your fucking laptop out. Oh no, that's Callum. It's got the
Oh,
laptop
no,
out. Aye.
That's
don't
me.
compare it to
That's
Callum,
Cal.
man, come on.
Strang's down below, so you're going to be Kennedy. Your face is just going to be tripping you. I mean, that's no different to be fair.
That's the fucking
How
news
can
you
you
did.
The way things are going, I'm not going to change.
How do you think Celtic deal with it tomorrow? I keep saying tomorrow. Like, fuck's sake, 2 games in 3 days. How does Celtic deal with that on Wednesday? How do we deal with these high pressing sides when the confidence isn't there on the side, Cal? How do we look to it? Because we tried to look to the Turnbull yesterday. It just wasn't there. We couldn't get that to work. We can't just keep relying on one player.
You know, like, normally you look at players like Callum McGregor, David Turnbull, Tom Rogic, they can work in tight areas.
Aye.
But then, like, if there's no movement, if there's nobody coming in, nobody making that running behind, what difference is it going to make?
Aye.
Like,
and the final product is woeful.
Oh,
and
it's shambolic.
I'm happy you've brought up Callum McGregor, because this is a conversation me and Callum had last night. We were talking about this. Callum McGregor is quite evidently burnt out. He needs a rest. He has been playing more minutes than any player in world football at this level. And he is clear. This is a boy for Springbok. You know, this is a wee bit, you know, this is one of us.
Oh,
yeah. That's a boy for Springbok. And do you know what? Hats off to him, because over the last 3 years, he's been probably consistently the best player at Celtic. On a game-by-game basis, there's not been many better than Cal McGregor over the last 3-4 years, but he needs a rest, and you can see it in the way he speaks, you can see it in the way he plays. He's not the same player at the minute, and that's because we're looking to him to pull us out a fucking hole, and he's got that armband on, and he's trying his fucking best. Fair play to him, but he is burnt out. He is so burnt out, and we need to give him a rest, and we need to rely on other players at the minute that aren't him. Callum McGregor would thrive if I moved to somewhere like Leicester and get a manager like Brendan Rodgers. Because right now, Neil Lennon is chucking him out there and saying, do what you've done for the last 3 years and then come back to me. That's what it looks like. We are relying far too heavily on him to just pull these performances out the bag. Callum Craig, we spoke about this last night. He looks, in the way you've seen it, post-match, I don't know if you've watched his post-match interview yesterday, literally, he just sounded done in, didn't he?
He did. I think he's the one that could do him in after 3 weeks in Dubai for another rest. He's absolutely gubbed.
Aye.
Like, as you said, he's played, you could say probably on average, 65 games a season? If you count everything all in.
Mm-hmm.
So for making like the cup runs and such. So if you used to play all those games, and you're going away and playing for Scotland as well, absolutely done in. Like, the boy needs a break, but then again, who can we drop to therefore say that you go in and replace him for the next couple of games?
Aye.
Nobody that can do it.
Exactly.
As you said, he's been the most consistent over the last few years. He might give you, he used to give you a 7 out of 10 every week. He'd do all the wee things right, and then as we've seen it now, the tired legs and he's bumped out, it's affecting his performances.
He's a shadow of himself.
For it.
Shadow of himself.
Yes, indeed.
Right, okay, that's that covered, and we can now move on to what is probably the last sort of, before I move on to Twitter questions. And then Callum has very kindly put us a quiz together. I keep forgetting to mention at the start of the show. I feel like it's the enticing part. You know, we've got style and we've got a quiz at the end. You can join in. And, you know, I keep forgetting to mention it. So if you are still listening, which I hope you all are, we've got a quiz at the end, and I'm getting to actually take part and test my Celtic knowledge for a change. Callum, a man who didn't know who Billy McNeil was till 2014, will be up against me. Sorry to throw you in the dirt there, Callum. Sorry to throw you in the dirt.
No, this could get embarrassing.
Right, so the last thing I want to speak about, and we've spoke about it on both editions of the podcast so far, and it's obviously going to be in every edition until the window's over, the January transfer window. What the fuck is going on? Well, no being linked with anybody, nothing's happening. They're looking at a team which is in dire need of somebody. If they generally just, Cal McKenzie, if they generally just chuck the toys at the pram at this point and thought, right, there's no point, we're leaving it till next season, we're waiting till we have a new manager in, there's no point recruiting now. What's going on, Cal?
I think there's just too much going on now to even think about transfers in my mind. Like, obviously the Peter Lawwell stuff, the team's performance. Obviously you think, we need to bring players in. But where do you start?
Aye.
Where do you start?
And I think
we need fullbacks, we need defenders, maybe some more midfielders, wingers. Look at Forrest.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've ever said this in my life, but I've missed James Forrest more than anybody I'll ever know.
You miss him with your
honest
whole
to
heart,
God.
You miss him just massively. And Callum, Craig, you've been very sort of, let's say, critical of James Forrest over your life, but now more than ever, we can all agree we miss him. But that's the thing, you know, people are saying now, you know, we look at this window and it looks even more likely that in this January window, we're not going to sign anybody. I think we're kind of dealing with that reality now. You know, we went into it and I went into it with the mindset of, right, we should be trying to get Forster back on loan as the fucking Auld Lang Syne's being sung, and we should be going for full, we should be doing this, that, next thing. We're not doing it. It looks even more likely. Callum, the question has been posed and it's been thrown around a lot on Twitter. Now, do we just generally look to be cutting dead wood, getting rid of players who don't want to be here, and start the build for next season? Callum Craig, by the way.
That should have been the idea. Like, see,
I think you said that. I think you said the first podcast actually after the Rangers game.
Shift whatever we can, get the key signs, even a couple of loan short deals, 6 months deals will do for the time being. And then in the summer, shift the big players if we need to, get the money in, and then start the build. But I'd rather the rebuild starts now.
Aye.
Bring in a couple of youth prospects. Let them play this season, because again, it's not as if they can't do much worse than what's happening now on the pitch.
Aye.
Bring them in, let them play, and then you get the best of them. But
I know we've brought back players for loan like Scott Robertson, and you know, he wasn't anywhere to be seen yesterday.
That was one I went to see yesterday. He was getting regular game time, doing it Gillingham. Gillingham,
but I know Lewis Laird has been waiting for this moment for him to come back, and now Lewis has just got to sit and watch as he doesn't get involved. Callum, the rumours are starting again, and I know it's one that slightly arouses us all. The rumours are starting that Eddie Howe could be the man. Eddie Howe is the man. You know, I don't want to buy into anything yet, but would you sacrifice this transfer window knowing that Eddie Howe was the man coming in the summer?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Like, I cannot tell you. Like, we broke the bank for Rodgers, and look what happened. I get, obviously, there was a difference in class and level when Rodgers came in, and Eddie Howe's not done that. But Eddie Howe took Bournemouth from League 2 at the Premier League and made them a Premier League mainstay.
Aye.
Like,
and I know they went down, but you can't put that on Eddie Howe. I think it was just
an unbelievable job.
Incredible job. And you hear the assistant manager, his old assistant manager, now Bournemouth manager, coming out and saying that, yep, he thinks Eddie Howe would be interested in the job. It's very encouraging to hear things like that. And look, Dermot Desmond, we all know, has to dip into everything. He's not doing it in this transfer window. He has to dip into his pocket over the coming months and fund a manager of a Rodgers stature. And Eddie Howe is a manager of Rodgers stature. Well, he's not quite Rodgers, I don't think, in terms of, you know, Rodgers was close to win the Premier League with Liverpool, but he's a Premier League manager. He's a manager who's been linked with jobs such as Arsenal. He's been linked with jobs such as Everton. He's been linked with high jobs. You know, Dermot Desmond has to dip into his pocket, Callum Craig, doesn't he, and make sure something like this happens. I
know, like, a new manager is absolutely key. Like, there was a point in Kieran sitting into our chat, and it was a list of people are saying, like, so that's I was just trying to get up there. To bring in a Paul Lambert. That's just like going to win again. It's just bringing in a Celtic man.
Aye. He knows the city well, but he knows the city well. That's what matters. Exactly.
No, that is,
look, I can get him the full tour of the East End if they want. I'll take a job. I'll take him down to fucking Edinburgh Road, wee bookies down there, Cranhill Park, walk the dog. You know, I'll do what I need to do if it means I'm getting the Celtic job. But you're making a very good point about that list. It's daft when you see suggestions like that, isn't it?
Aye. It's just going with the cheap option. Who's the other one? Like Yogi Hughes. He's literally just took the job at County. Even if he didn't take the job at County, he's still going to turn and take him as a Celtic manager. People say he would be he's a safe pair of hands, but no, you just wouldn't accept it.
Look, no disrespect to Yogi.
I know, exactly, no disrespect, because he's a crack. Like, he seems like an unbelievable guy. Seems cracking all round, but he's
not a Celtic manager. Just because he played for the club, it means he's entitled to the job. Is that how it's working now? You know, does that mean we're just giving anybody who's wore the hoops in their life? Ian Wright, is Ian Wright the next Celtic manager? Is Freddie Ljungberg the next Celtic manager? Is that how we're going to base it now? You know, it's a spot on point, and I'm glad Kieran did bring it up. He was dying for us to bring up these stupid suggestions of getting. And I'll give Lambert his dues in the fact that he has been a manager for a fair while now, but he's not done anything successfully. But he's not done it. I think Norwich he done well at. Ipswich he flopped. Villa he flopped. Villa he done well, I think, for the first year and then flopped. You know, you cannot justify appointing a manager like that with the state we're in just now. If worse came to worse, Lambert maybe till the end of the season, but no, it's not the direction of this club. And even at that, I think if someone like Lambert was appointed to the end of the season, we all know that would be the long term. We know that it would get to summer, and you know Dermot Desmond would turn around and go, that's our manager, and we would be outraged. So, you know, you've got to look at an Eddie Howe, and you've got to look at a manager like that as our next appointment.
Because I just wanted to make a quick point. Like, we're talking about we broke the bank for Rodgers, and we'll probably have to break the bank to get someone like Howen.
Aye.
But realistically, players like Edward, Ayer, they're gone in the summer.
Yeah,
so there's literally no excuse. There is no excuse to say, "Oh, we don't have the money to bring him in." We'll have more than enough.
Aye. That's spot on. Right, well, it brings me on to the last part of the show, and that is Twitter questions. Twitter questions, as I said. Callum, you made a very interesting point there. This is the Yoco Flex special, isn't it? Oh, yes, we have AirPods in.
The AirPods.
If you were to guess one thing that he was listening to on the AirPods, what would it be? That's the question.
The best one I seen on Twitter was him listening to the Black Rooster song. Had to be.
Oh, aye. Chicken wings and dips. That's definitely what he was listening to.
Right, MC Pat Flynn.
MC Pat Flynn. Right, okay. First question. We've already brought him up in the show, so big shout out to Lewis Laird, the loan man. I think he's got his wee loan podcast starting soon as well, so make sure to check that out if you want to keep up with what's happening with loans. Lewis Laird on Twitter. He says, where do we actually go from here? The league season is gone. Squad seems like it's out of ideas. Is the aim now to win the Scottish Cup? Really struggling to see where we go from here. Callum, Craig, I'll come to you first. Where do we go?
There's no many routes we can go down here. I do think it's a case of now just go and play the games. If it gets to a point where they say, right, we'll cover the season enough, at least over 75% games are played like they did last year, that would probably be doing us the favour to start a further embarrassment. But,
null and void.
Oh, I just don't. That flying about Twilight, I think it got brought up in the chat yesterday.
Fishing.
I mean,
as a special.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen. You know, null and void. It's the only logical option.
That house must stay open.
Cal McKenzie, is that it now? Is it just win the Scottish Cup? Is that our season?
I don't think we can win the Scottish Cup.
Really?
Wow. Honestly, like.
No, actually, I don't know why I'm going really, because
I know
evidently we can't win this.
That surprised me much.
After League Cup embarrassment. After League Cup embarrassment. Come on.
Aye, and it's like, is
that's the aim, but
and now it's a matter of, do we look back on this season in 10 years, the season that was, could we or could we not win 10 in a row? Well, we always look back on that and go, oh, it was the season where the aim became the Scottish Cup. You know, this was meant to be the season of all seasons, the most historic in Scottish football. For Celtic, it's literally been the most humiliating in Scottish football. So, you know, where do we go from here is the question. I don't quite know. I think it is a matter of now we look to rebuild. Now we look towards, I think in the back, you've got to expect Dermot Desmond to be making the correct moves and changing this club. And that doesn't stop at Neil Lennon. That goes on with Peter Law. I think we've got to look for a new CEO. I think you've got to look for a new idea at the whole club. And the question is, will that happen? I don't know. But you've got to look for a change now everywhere. That is where we go from here, I think. I think it is a matter of a culture change, and it needs to start now. The process has to begin, and whether that is scouting or interviewing or whatever, it all has to start now. Because next season, and we've known this for a long time, but Callum McKenzie, we've known this for a long time, but we're not going to see the Celtic squad that we've grown to know and love next year.
No, it's
grow, love, and hate, I must add, because that's the kind of order of how it's went. But you know, it is a matter of, you know, now we just hold on and hope for the best. You know, that's it, isn't it?
Because obviously, like next season, Edward and I and that they'll go, but then you could have, like a couple of months ago, you could have thought, oh, that means like the Karamoko, Dembele, and that they'll come in, they'll get their chance. But obviously, why would they want to play? Like they'll stay. Like, you've got to start having a serious look at the options we have, because it's a revamp all over the park. We need literally everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's one position I'd think, right, that's an absolute dead set on, like a Callum McGregor, David Turnbull. That's about it.
Aye. TSF is classed. Classed as asked. Null and void the season. Null and void the season and focus on the Euros. Agree? That's it, there, innit? Look at your faces.
Honestly, if they called the season, I'd be happy. I'd actually be happy.
I would be.
It just saved me any more sadness.
people have asked, so I feel like I need to address it. What my reaction to the whole null and void thing is. Look, if null and void was to happen, I would pish my pants. I think I would laugh. I would fucking laugh. But I cannot lie in saying I would be embarrassed for the game. I would be embarrassed for Scottish football if the season was to be null and voided.
But the court case is flying everywhere.
You can't null and void it. Mate, it would be,
especially after last year.
You remember they filmed World War Z in Glasgow? That would be the scene.
Recreation.
That would be the scene. And that's not a zombies joke. I just mean that George Square would turn into the apocalypse, you know? That would be the scenes. He's also asked, though, if everyone knew back after the Scottish Cup final in 2019, why was he saying? If everyone knew back after the Scottish Cup final, or why did Celtic fans accept the fact he was appointed as manager? I don't think we did. I don't think the majority of us accepted it. I think we had to accept it because how much change can we enforce as fans? But I think we all knew, and I think it's coming to fruition now. I found a tweet that I put up the day of the Scottish Cup final. Paul from Celtic Fans TV put up a video of him speaking after the Scottish Cup final, and I've seen plenty of other fans who've said the exact same thing, found old quotes. I think we all knew it wasn't the right choice at the time. And we just kind of grown to accept it as things looked a bit better.
Because I remember leaving Hampden, checking my phone to see that it had been announced, and I was like, oh, dear God.
And it ruined your day.
It ruined my happiness, but then things started to get better, and you had the Europa League run last year. I get, obviously, the Copenhagen stuff, but we beat Lazio home and away, and you think, maybe it is the man. And then, it's just the fact that we went for that high to this, like, the lowest of the lows sort of things, you know what I mean?
Right, a couple of other questions that come flying in are mostly, and I do get what you mean, Callum, don't make me ignorant, it was a very good point. A couple of you're like,
should ignore me.
A couple of questions, the majority of them are to do with, you know, the rebuild and such that we've already spoke about, so I don't really need to touch on that too much. A question from John F. Kennedy. Thought he was dead, but here we are. He's watching the show. John F. Kennedy's asked, do you think our support's obsession with 10 in a row has clouded the fact that since Strachan has left the club in 2009, we have qualified for the Champions League 4 out of 12 times? That's embarrassing, isn't it? That is honestly, you know, our club, for the stature of Celtic Football Club and the club we're meant to be, and maybe one of the leading clubs in Britain's history and the European front of football, has only qualified for its elite competition, its front-running competition, 4 out of the last 12 times, is embarrassing.
That's a brilliant question, because like you never normally think of that, because you always look at all the success in the league and think, oh, that's all right, it's all right. Next season it'll get better, and every single year in the qualifiers it's the exact same thing. It's just bitter disappointment every single season in the qualifiers.
Callum, Craig, we've just grown used to becoming watching a side, as Callum said, that is, you know, we're used to being let down, and it looks as though the club has accepted mediocrity in Europe. That's the thing, isn't it?
I know it does. It's like a point you made earlier in the show, Seamus, saying about like Ajax and Silberg, the way they're progressing as clubs. That's the way we would love to have been. We would love to be that. But no, it's as if we have to accept, like, we just accept being a Europa League club. We just accept getting to that stage yet now. Do we get to make group stages, get a bit of money in? That's what it seemed if it's been accepted. If we get out the groups and make a wee run it, brilliant, even better, more money. But it generally just seems like we've settled for much less than we should.
And my favourite start I was going to say, my favourite start from it all is since Peter Law took over the club as CEO in 2004, I believe. And since 2004, how many knockout European ties have Celtic won? 0. Not 1. We have never won a last 16 game in the Champions League from the one time that we managed to get there. Granted, we played Juventus. And we have never won a last... Juventus.
That's it.
That's it. But we have never won a last 32 match in the Europa League since Law has took over. That is humiliating. Rangers came up all the way from League 2, all the way up, and last season, on their first attempt of asking, won a European knockout game. They made it to the last 16. There is a fundamental issue at Celtic Football Club with the mediocrity we have accepted in Europe. Callum, you were going to make a point.
I was going to say, like, everybody talks about the big European nights at Celtic Park. Like, it's all glitz and glamour, and then the first whistle goes, and then you're shitting your pants.
Yep.
Because it's an absolute disaster. Like, see your point about Rangers there? See, under Gerrard, like, you've got to give them credit. In Europe, they've been, in the league, obviously, this season they've been amazing, but they've been absolutely unbelievable, like, in Europe under Gerrard. Because they go away to, like, Benfica and get results, go away to Braga, See, after that first leg against Braga, you thought, no chance. They're going to go to Portugal and get absolutely hammered. And cakewalked it. Do you know what I mean?
Spot on. Right, so okay, final question to ask before we move on to the quiz is from TSF's class again, but it's also been asked by Lewis. Lewis T333 has asked kind of a similar question. If you want to predict the season ticket sales next season, are Celtic selling all 52,000 books? Callum Craig?
Nah, not a chance.
No,
Even though we say we've got this waiting list and such, people get offered it, but they won't take it. A lot of people that are in that waiting list were in the hopes to get one to see 10
in a row.
To see them lifting them, hanging to lift the 10th title in a row. But a lot of them know, but I don't really fancy it.
Does that change? Sorry, on you go.
Unless they get a big name with, i.e. Eddie Howe, somebody that's going to attract stuff, as I said earlier with the youngsters, to attract players in. See, unless you bring a name to the club that's going to attract people, I don't personally think they will. I think we'll end up seeing it was in the Diary days with the big fucking banners of the seats.
The Lisbon
Lions. I'll need to get fucking moved in.
Aye. Callum, do you think we'll sell all 52,000? Unless an Eddie Howe comes. I think if an Eddie Howe came in, I reckon we will. I think that'll happen. I
know personally, I'm going to renew mine. Yep. I will renew mine.
I know. That's where we're responsible for the destruction of our own club because we're foolish enough to go and renew our books. But at the end of the day, we're Celtic supporters. We want to go and watch our club. Of course, as well, there is absolutely no chance I am turning myself back from the chance to be back at the football after a year, perhaps 1.5 years of missing it. Not a chance. I'm missing out. And of course, I feel criminal for lining the pocket of Peter Law and Dermot Desmond after what we've seen. But they have the chance to right wrongs in the summer, and that comes with Dermot Desmond hopefully putting his hand in his pocket. We've just got to wait and see. But if we don't make a change, they won't sell out the books. There's no chance.
No chance.
Right, okay, that brings us on to the last part of the show, and it's Callum's turn to be Bradley Walsh this week as we get ready for a wee quiz. It's a penalty shootout, spectacular, Callum. Last week, the winner, it was Kieran Auld. Kieran Auld was the first ever winner of the Sellik the Thunder full-time quiz. So, the full-time quiz this week is two new competitors. Who is taking Kieran Auld's crown? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be Cal McKenzie?
Definitely not going to be me.
We'll wait and see. I'm not going to get
too much faith in me as I do on our team on Wednesday.
I'm not going to get too confident in my abilities. Right, okay. Who's going first then? Is it a flip of the coins?
Ryan, do the old flip of the coin thing.
Right, okay, Callum.
Flip this, Ryan.
Flip this nuss. Oh, aye, in my mouth. It's just fair. Callum, do you want heads or tails since you're the guest?
Heads.
Okay. Sorry, heads or tails? There we go. This is a nice moment, this. It's tails. So I get to choose if I'm going first or second then. Okay. I'm going to go second. Bugger it. I'm going to take set 2. Got to put up Callum first.
I'm setting the standard.
Right.
Who was the second man on the moon?
What's on you? Tosh McKinley. There's a joke I've said. If I don't know the answer, it could be anything. I'm just going to guess Tosh McKinley. That's going to be my, as I said, who was the man sitting beside Brother Walfred in the foundation when the club was found? Tosh McKinley. That's my answer. Right, take it away, Cam. On you go, Bradley.
Right, so Mackenzie, for your first question, nice and easy one. Which Belgian club did the prick Bolingoli begin his professional career with?
I'm just going to say Ghent.
It's actually Club Bruges.
Let's be honest, don't think I would have got that, to be honest. I think I would have gave it a Ghent or a Ghent.
I just thought the big teams in Belgium and thought, stabbing the dark, go for it.
Fair play. Okay. Right,
right, so we'll jump back to Ryan. Ryan could take the lead here.
Okay.
Who was the last Celtic player to score a hat-trick against Kilmarnock?
The last Celtic player to score a hat-trick against Kilmarnock? I've been to Rugby Park a few times. I can guarantee I've not seen hat-tricks, because every time I've been to Rugby Park, it's been pish. At home, I don't remember any... I don't know, man. I feel like you're going back a good while here. It's a stab in the dark. I can't think. I've not got enough time to just sit and think and go through game by game. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark. I'm going to say Tosh McKinley.
You'd be wrong. It was actually Lee Griffiths.
I was going to say Griff. I was actually.
Oh, you won,
and then
mate. You
I
said
went,
Tosh
no, I
McKinley.
shit you not, right? I was going to say Griffiths. And I went, it's not going to be Griffiths, so I'll just keep the joke up and go with Tosh McKinley. I was thinking Griffiths or Commons. They were the two players that came to my head, and I went, fuck it, I'll go for Tosh. I hate myself. This, if buts and maybes, swings and roundabouts, Callum.
If buts and maybes.
Cam, this is a slightly easier one. Scott Brown shares a birthday of June 25th, with which other Celt?
Think back to the Instagram post.
I don't even know. I'm just going
And it's not Tosh
to Neil
McKinley.
Beaton. Neil Beaton.
No, you're actually going to kill him. It's Neil Lennon.
Oh,
Like
is it
Snowsmith up
Lenny?
there.
Aye. I was actually
Sure,
thinking Lenny, to be honest. I was thinking Lenny. I think there's a few stories, isn't there?
Again, I was
Birthday
just
nights,
like, I don't have a clue, man.
oh well.
Right, so jump back to Ryan.
Perfect record.
Which 5 former Celts have managed Hibs since the turn of the millennium?
Which 5 former Celts?
Yes.
Right, okay. Neil Lennon.
Right.
What's his name? Wee specky bastard. Forgot his name. Slipped my head. Right, so Neil Lennon, John Hughes.
Yep.
Yogi. What's his name? Wee specky prick. I forgot his name. I'm sure he played Pat Fenlon. No, is he no one? No. Oh, I thought he was.
I've got one in my head.
I played.
I've got one on this list.
Tony Mowbray.
Yep.
Tony Mowbray. That's 3. Try to work backwards. So, who was before? Alan Stubbs.
Yep.
That's one I had in
Stubbsy.
mind.
And certainly no Terry Butcher. He's certainly no one. Fuck, one more. I can't think of one more, generally, you know that? I thought Pat Fenlon was one.
Not a last.
Oh, I don't know. One more. Deary me. Who's managing him? Because Jack Ross isn't one. I can't get 5. I can only get 4. I generally can only get 4.
I'm curious to hear what this other one is.
I can't
You
think.
passing it up?
Tosh McKinley. I passed, mate. I can't think of a 5th.
John Collins.
Oh, John Collins, of course. Of course. The passing, the moving, the tempo. Everything. Scanning. Oh, I can't believe I forgot Collins. Ah, dear. Right, okay. So nobody's got a point yet. Fuck me.
Perfect record, Ryan. Perfect record.
Next
We're still in
question.
the Gavin Stratton fucking managerial. Right, so next one goes back to Mackenzie. Callum, Celtic played. Which team, did Celtic meet at 4 different grounds in 2018-19?
Oh, I think
Aberdeen?
I know. Is it Hearts?
Hearts.
Aye, because we played them at Murrayfield. Aye, that's right.
Murrayfield, Tynecastle, Celtic Park, and
for whatever reason, my head thought it was Aberdeen. We played at Murrayfield.
Nah.
For whatever reason.
Head up your You were at that game as well, you know.
I know, I didn't get to the Murrayfield game.
Oh, did you know? God, no.
I didn't get to that.
It's a cracking story with Brad funding the stairs. That was like a laugh.
Hold on, 2 seconds. 2 seconds, boys.
Oh, Jesus. He's going to come in here with his big gutbuster rap.
Oh, has he got it on a rap?
I think it's on a rap. If it isn't a rap, I'll be very impressed.
I should have really waited to the end of the show, you know, to order some scan.
That's what I was...
Quite an inconvenience there. Right.
Against which side... This one's just going to fuck you over so much.
Oh, God. No good.
Against which side did current North County captain Marcus Fraser make his debut for Celtic?
Oh.
I'm dating him right back now.
Just get up, Ryan, mate. Just get up.
Against which
Oh,
side?
you're Googling?
I'm not Googling. I'm putting my fry up down. I don't know. I'm going to take a guess. Motherwell.
You could not have been any further away.
No.
Ren.
Ren. Oh, Jesus.
No chance, man.
Jesus, aye. He took a slip road from Motherwell to Ren.
To Ren.
Right, on you go.
Right, I'll make this a laugh, so you've got a chance to take it. Right. So, Which current Celt scored his first ever hat-trick against Partick Thistle?
I'm going to go with Ryan Christie.
No, it was actually James Forrest.
Oh,
Right, so Ryan, you could go and take it here.
is this the last question?
Oh, no, I've got one more. Apologies.
Oh,
Wasn't
right.
scrolled in for us because I've got
Okay.
like the question, the answer.
Aye.
It doesn't move down enough. How many goals has Odsonne Edwards scored against Rangers?
Right, okay, so he scored a hat-trick one game. He scored 2. No, did he only score 1 at Ibrox in the 3-2? He scored the winner, so that's 4. Right, then he scored...
If you're at the SMR when you're that up close to the mic.
Oh, aye.
I'm
I'm trying to think.
Enjoying my sausage.
I try to think game by game how many he scored, you know. Is it 6?
It is indeed.
Yes, come
So
on.
Ryan
That's
takes the lead as it stands. Mackenzie, still have another question. Take yourself back in it.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I'm joking on my
I'm
own.
joking
What
on
are they
my
scoring
own.
here?
Well, keep it professional. Oh, this is it, Cam. You need to hear how you've lost.
So, Callum,
Oh, for fuck's
who
sake,
scored
Al.
Celtic's first league goal of 2020?
2020.
Hmm.
Trying to think.
And
who
you know
would
what?
be our first game
I'll give you a bonus point if you could even give me the team he scored against.
I even remember what our first game of 2020 was, to be honest.
I'm gonna go.
Oh, no, first league goal. I'm thinking Scottish Cup.
I'm gonna go Lee Griffiths against St Johnstone.
No, it was actually Odsonne Edward against Kilmarnock.
Oh, was
I
it?
was thinking of the game away at St Johnstone where we
Aye.
actually battled them.
Aye, but what, first half we were up about 3-0.
Aye, just after the bye. That was
Aye.
my thought process. I was like, right, that was quite early on, but
Right,
0
so
for 5.
yeah,
You
0 for
won.
5. Cal. Well
You
done,
won.
mate. Well done. I've not done much better. I might finish on 1 here, depending.
Give me his last question. Put me in my misery.
Um,
I hope you
So,
get this wrong,
right.
so I don't look as bad.
Yeah, I've only won 2-0
Against-
if I get it right.
against which country did Greg Taylor make his Scotland debut?
Oh, what the hell?
Looks like you've only got the one right then, doesn't it?
Fucking, hell, with fucking Israel knowing the fucking amount of times we've played them. Oh, God. Kazakhstan?
No.
Ah.
Was it
Belgium.
Slovenia?
Oh, Belgium.
Belgium.
Once
I
again,
was
it couldn't
gonna
be
say-
any fucking further.
I know.
Belgium in June of 2019.
Ah.
Back when
Right,
we were
well,
allowed out,
next
times
time-
are good.
Next time I'm on,
I
I'll get a
win.
quiz for you so I don't embarrass myself like this.
I win. I fucking win 1-0, boys. Come on.
Ryan,
Aye.
you basically just played a League 2 opposition.
I know,
And
it's
you
like
scraped by. You've done a
it's-
Celtic scrape by.
it's like if it was like Mark Clabet, I don't even know where I'm going with that. I don't even know where I'm going with it. Tosh McKinley. But aye, that's it. A very interesting episode. A lot of negatives, of course, but a wee bit of laughter at the end to cheer us all up. Boys, thank you very much for coming on today.
That's been a pleasure.
And I look
Thanks for
forward to
having
getting you back on again. Of course, we've got the rotation going now. Nice now. We've got Ryan, we've got Kieran, we've got the 2 Callums. It's gone very well. Anything you want to quickly add before we wrap up, or he's willing to be off?
I'm away to go back to bed. It's sad.
Nah, just hold your head in
Reflect on
shame.
the performance again yesterday.
Callum, yourself.
I'll be back to the depression sessions myself. Not much else to be doing.
Nice. Right, well.
Parkhead tonight.
Ah, yes, oh yes. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure to give it a share. Make sure and share it out and everything. Get everybody involved. First episode support has been fantastic. We're hoping it keeps up as well. And we'll speak to you again next week. So until then, I'll see you all next time.